Machenko. Did I say it? Okay, great. Kind of. He's been working as a journalist for online media and television for 10 years. And he's currently working in VR projects at ORF. And he's going to tell us how to tell a story in an immersive surrounding from a journalistic perspective. Welcome, Florian.
Hello. PowerPoint is a great product, so it's not working. Just give it a second, we can fix this. Okay, so, and we are ready. As Gabriela said, I'm a journalist. I work with the ORF. I'm in the news department, so that's why my talk will be very content focused. Our main goal is to tell stories in a way in which we can get in contact with as much people as possible. So that's our main job. We have a law which tells us to do that, and we always try new technologies. My responsibility at ORF is to find ways in which we can tell stories with new technologies. And we are now focusing on 360-degree videos for kind of a year. We were following technology development in that sector, and we think that right now is the perfect moment for us to start products in this sector. So we started developing kind of online formats in which we try to tell new stories, and that's I think our most important goal, to kind of create a new way of storytelling in this medium, because otherwise those kind of videos will be overused very, very soon. So that's the effect we've seen with 3D. You've seen it once and then you know it and then you don't like it anymore. So our main goal should be developing a new way of storytelling within 360 videos, and that's where we are professionals. We know how to tell stories, we know how to tell complex stories in an easy way, and we are told to do that. So we do it. What we are focused on, we try to find out which departments are the best departments for us to tell stories in 360 degrees, and we found out that all of our departments fit. The most common one, of course, is sports, because sports is connected with a lot of action. You can see things you have never seen before, you have a lot of movement, so you can create in a very easy way very great pictures which people like to see. Maybe you have seen our first 360-degree project. It was the Strife in 360 degrees. It was our first and most successful project so far, and there was absolutely no storytelling in it. So it was kind of a technological test, if we can do it and if we have enough know-how to do it. And I think 1.7 million people have seen the video. I don't know, has any one of you seen our Strife video? So all the others watch it. It's worth it. But the point is, there's absolutely no storytelling in it. What we have seen is, we produced a second video in Kitzbühel, and I think no one of you will have seen that. It was the Super G, which is not that interesting, it's not that perfect, it's not that good in a term of action. And that video only 80,000 people watched. So what we have seen is that this kind of sensation is lost very fast, and that's where storytelling comes in the game. what we think is that sports will be always the leader. We will try out new ways of technology, always in sports, but we will develop storytelling and entertainment and information. For two reasons. Because the sensation in sport is lost after one video. We will do a video with Formula 1, we will do a video with the Summer Olympics, but if you have seen it once, you have seen it and you don't want to see it again. So possibilities are limited within sports. Within entertainment and information, possibilities are not limited. Oh, I see I had a slide for that one. Yeah. I may have pressed the button too late. So we tried to develop a story which will start in the end of April. We have called it 360 Austria, where we try to let the people see things they couldn't see before, because they're just not allowed to go in the rooms, they are not allowed to go to the places. So we made kind of a technology test and built a story around it, and try to put people into places they have never seen before. That's what we did with the technology. For us the motto is experience the unseen, because we think that we can use this technology to give people access to places they don't know, to give people access to things they never have done, and to kind of places they will never see. Maybe this isn't the best example, because this is a place everybody has seen, because that's the room where our president holds the New Year's speech. So everybody has seen this place, so it's not the best example I've chosen. Excuses for that. What we have seen is that we are far behind in terms of graphics in this sector. We don't have inserts. We didn't have inserts, we now have inserts. We didn't have infographics. We didn't have kind of voiceover knowledge on how to do voiceovers for that kind of videos. So we had to develop everything which is normal in TV again, just to have it, to use it in television. The most surprising thing for us was that it's very hard to do it with our technological possibilities right now, because we had to buy new kind of cameras, we had to buy new kind of software, we had to learn all those things, and that's not a common thing television stations do. Normally we try to adopt in a very slow and kind of traditional way. ORF is not known for being a kind of a renewer. We are known to be conservative. But what we have seen is that we can put our strength we have in classical storytelling to a completely new medium. And that's what we did there. I'm not allowed to show you videos from that, but you will see it on the 29th of April. It's a good teaser, I know. On a technological point of view, we produce information with the things everybody produces with. We use GoPros, we use the Autopano Pro video solution, and for post-production we use After Effects. So it's kind of a easy workflow for us. For live production, we use a RED camera rig with 6 RED cameras, but we are not ready to live stream that because it's too much data. So it's just a test environment. Our main goal is to not use GoPros anymore because they tend to overheat. They are not very stable in usage, but we think that today the GoPro solution is the best solution for us. What's coming next for us? We think that the greatest problem at the moment is that 360-degree videos and virtual reality is not platform independent. So we develop a player software which is platform independent, so that everybody from a mobile phone to a desktop browser can use the videos, which is not possible today. There are some kind of wacky solutions for that problem, but the most important problem to solve is that we have a player software with which everybody can play the videos. That sounds now kind of a bit boring, but to give you some information behind that, we lose 40% of our traffic because they just don't support the videos. So we lose half of our users just because they can't view our content. So in terms, that's a lot. We had on the Streif video on our homepage, we had 3.1 million users, and only 1.3 million users watched it on the homepage. So we lost 1.8 million users just because they couldn't view the videos. We are not told to make money, but for any other TV station, this is a major problem. Because if you can't pull out your content to your users, you can't make money with it. For us, that's not a big problem because we get money from you, which is okay. For us, it's great because we are not, we don't have the pressure of money. But for anybody else, this is a major problem. And it's only a side story. I'm a chit-chat person, so I'll tell you the side story. There's only one solution in the world which supports playing on all devices, and it's a solution from a guy in Burgenland who makes wine in his main job. So this is not a very stable solution because he develops this thing as a hobby for now, I think 8 years or something, and you don't get support if you like the support. He does it when he has fun with it. So for us, the next step on a technological side will be developing a playout environment for the content in this field. And on a content side, we will have to develop kind of a modern age, how do I put this in English? Moderator, who will guide you through a story in a 360-degree room. Because what we think is that we can't let people alone in the room. We have to take their hand and guide them through the rooms, because that's our job as a journalist. We need to tell a story and we need to take the hand of people and guide them through a story. Without that, we're just showing pictures without context. So we need to kind of develop a new kind of journalist who is able to tell a story within a whole room, and we need to develop the technology behind new kind of inserts which guides users. So it's a new kind of storytelling which we would like to develop. And I think we're on a good way. So maybe one time only ORF is first at something. So, thank you. If you have any questions, just ask, please.
Wouldn't it make more sense to just tell like 3 or 4 different stories in the same room and the person can choose by himself which story he wants to follow? Since it's all in a whole, like you can choose to follow that story, you can choose to follow that story, they both can go on at the same time, and then you don't have to have one story for the whole room.
I repeat the question for the microphone. The question is if it wouldn't be more intelligent to just give 3 stories to choose from in one room and let the user decide between the 3 stories. Simple answer, yes. That's exactly what we try to do. But the important thing is to give the user, that sounds maybe a little strange, to give the user the feeling of free choice. And that's the major league in storytelling, I think.
Concerning the infographics, is it like you integrate the infographics into the environment, or you put it in front of the user?
The question was how we put the infographics into the videos. The answer is we try to connect it with the environment. That's not always possible, but we try, and we found a way, I think, in every clip we have to integrate it in the environment. So we don't like to call it augmented reality because we think it's not really that, because we decide where it is and we decide how it looks and we decide when it appears, but we make it look like as if it's connected to the room in which you are standing. So it's not only kind of an insert, it's inserted in the room. It's kind of a mixture.
And how do you put the attention to the side of view, the field of view where the user have to look?
The question is how we put attention to the infographics. We have around going inserts, which tell you to move around. So it's kind of an arrow moving around you and telling you where to look. We tried out the possibility to move the virtual camera within the ball of video, but we thought that this is kind of disturbing. It's a better way to just tell the people to look around and find the infographics. Yeah, and it also looks kind of cool. So.
What is actually the story? Because when you showed us that beautiful room, you said, "Oh, but we have storytelling." But
Yeah.
what's the story? And do you have other characters in the room, or am I standing alone in the room? The question is because what I realized when thinking about concepts for that what you have in the cinema, you always have a face where you can mirror a emotion or a expression. If you are totally alone in the room, you don't have this emotional bias.
The question was if we leave the people alone with the story. We don't do that. We have kind of a guide which guides you through Austria. So we have the person who grabs your hand and tells you, "Come with me, I'm going to show you some interesting things you might not know." So you have kind of a buddy who shows you around in Austria. And what we learned is that this is not a job for classic moderators and not for classic journalists. There's kind of a new way of talking with people connected with that.
So you use actors or?
No, we use people we found in our archive.
Oh.
So we use common people.
Okay.
What's the difference in post-production process for you now compared to?
It takes extremely long time. That's the main difference, and so it's just more expensive. Just to give you a quick overview, it takes us about a day to make 2.5 minutes of video content. That took us earlier 1.5 hours. So it just takes longer, and that is not only because of rendering times, that's also because of putting inserts to the right place. So we have to focus on much more details in the picture than we had before. Before that, in classical TV, we just put some pictures together and made a story out of that. And now we have to keep attention on every detail in the picture to tell a good and convincing story.
So my question is, do you really need the 360 degrees video all the time? If you want to guide a person, if you want to guide your user and you don't want them to have, looking somewhere else, thinking about their stuff, okay, that looks good, what did you just say? And all this sort of thing. Does it really make sense to use the 360 degrees all the time?
The question was if it makes sense to use 360 degrees video all the time. The answer is no. But at the moment we just see technical limitations within YouTube, which we use for playout now. We can't switch between normal video and 360 degree video without disturbing people. But we would like to change that, and within the player software we are developing, there's the option for us to change to normal video to show people some things. Maybe a good example is our first product within the new player is the next soccer match between Austria and Albania, I guess, in which we try to mix normal TV scenes with 360-degree scenes.
Okay, and the follow-up question is, if we're talking about soccer, my problem is I often miss important things. How do you plan to handle if your users having a 360-degree field of view, so he can be looking anywhere, and then you want to bring his attention to a spot, like you already know where it is, obviously it's all planned and so on. How would you handle that?
That's kind of a tricky question because I don't like soccer at all, and it was kind of hard for me to develop a story behind soccer. And what we do now is we let the normal video focus on the game important things like goals, fouls, and anything else, and we focus the 360-degree video on everything else. So you have the interaction between the, how's it called in English, the trainer and the players within 360 degrees. You see people singing the national anthem in 360 degrees. So we focus with 360 degrees on the human side of the sport, and let television do the trick in the field of normal sports. Because we have the best technology for that. We have slow motion in normal video, we have kind of close-ups in normal video. We don't have that things in 360 degrees. So why use a worse technology for things which we have the best technology yet?
Just one question, the GoPro is of course not the best camera right now. So what are you heading for? Which camera technology are you going for?
We are waiting for the Nokia camera.
There was a,
Yeah.
and I think you tested already. Have you seen anything about it?
We received test footage and we can test it now at NAB in Las Vegas at the mid of April. So we will have first results then. Because for us it's important to include the content in our normal workflows, and our workflows are SDI based. So we have to find a way in which we can produce in that workflow. And the only camera so far is the Nokia.
And is it 3D?
You can do 3D, but you don't have to. And as we stopped doing 3D, we won't use that feature. So GoPro is for us only a kind of step-in solution.
My question is super long, so can I have the... Sorry, I talk too much. My question is a bit more towards the philosophical side of VR in journalism. And it almost seems inevitable that in the not so distant future we are most likely going to see journalists going to the middle of war zones with a VR device strapped on somewhere to broadcast the first line of battle in real time. And where do you think the ethical boundaries should be for need to inform and at the same time preventing the whole thing to become sensationalist?
That's kind of the same question we have to ask with normal cameras, because every picture, every event tends to get overused. So if you look at the crisis in Syria, you won't see much people suffering in Syria right now in television, because people are just not looking at it anymore. So you have that problem with any kind of technology, and I think it's the same problem within 360-degree video. You have to always think, am I going too far? Am I showing things which I'm not supposed to show? And am I telling the story wrong when showing those pictures? But it's not a new problem. It's no problem within a new technology. So there's kind of an ethical question we have to ask ourselves for the past 50 years, I think. and it's not new for us. There's even an kind of a, how's it called, Gesetzes Teil, which tells us to not show people while they die, while they suffer. So we have a law solution for that. We're not allowed to show the most extreme pictures for a reason, because people will tend to get stumpf when seeing a lot of people die on television. That sounds kind of harsh, but that's the way we work with information. When we see people suffering too often, we don't accept that they are suffering because we have seen it and we think it's normal. So that's kind of a question we have to ask ourselves as journalists.
Are you actually limited to the light of the environment? And how do you hide all the lights, microphones, and production stuff? Do you do it in post, or is it possible, or is it easy to do that?
The question is how we hide our production environment. That's not always possible. In terms of microphones, we are professionals in hiding them, so we don't have problems there. In terms of light, we try to use the given light and not to use too much exterior lighting, because what we found out is that the GoPro don't likes to work too good with artificial light. To bring again the soccer example, you have the floodlight above. We built special filters to not have light breaking through the lens from floodlight. So we most of the time try to use given light, and if we are not able to do it, we just put the light in the front of the picture so that everybody can see that we just lighting up the room. So we use it as part of a kind of, how do you call it, Ausstattung of the room.
Or you can shoot it through the windows or something like that?
Yeah, I don't like light coming from through the window, but that's just my personal taste. I always like if I do something which is artificial to show what I'm doing, because people will recognize if you light through the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have time for one more question. Going
I
once,
would have
going twice.
another one. Yeah. But one, my main topic with 360 is every time I watch a 360 movie, it's simply boring. Yeah? Because it's like I've seen your strive. It's super interesting for, let's say, a couple of seconds. Yeah. But once you've seen it, okay, I look back, I look right and left, but the feeling gets lost pretty quickly, as you said before. Yeah. For me. Yeah. And all the samples I know they have the same problem. Yeah, they all have the same problem. Like a typical movie is like cutting a lot of different angles. It's much more interesting. Yeah. How do you solve this problem, this issue?
I'm bored too with most of the videos. That's, I think, kind of the nature of adopting to a new technology. So you try out what's possible, what's not possible. But I think that's like within good photographs. If you're a good photographer, you can tell a story within a single picture, and that's the same here. So if you have a good picture, if you have a good story behind the picture, the story tells itself. If you don't have that, you need somebody who tells the story for you, and that's where our moderators come into the picture, and that's where our inserts come to the story. So what we found out is that we need technological and human support to tell the story. Because if you only show things, that's not enough in most of the time. Because we don't have that much interesting places, we don't have that much interesting rooms to fill a whole story with that. So you need somebody or something to fill that up.
Well, thank you, Florian. Bye.
All right, that sadly, this is it for today. We